There's nothing better than a girls' night out, letting your hair down, discussing the issues that really concern you like,
What was he thinking?
oh, sure, we talk about kids, health issues, but mostly it's men.
We've been friends since the 3rd grade, and we will make you laugh, think, and maybe give you some idea on how the female mind works.
Assorted guests every week.
Tune in Saturday night, 10 to midnight on KARN for Singles and Exes.
Broadcasting live from the New Creations Weight Loss Studio in Little Rock, it's Crime Chronicle Live with your host, Val Emmons.
Good afternoon. I am your host, Val Emmons, and this is Crime Chronicle Live, as you heard, coming to you from the New Creations Weight Loss Studio here at KARN. Today, joining me on the show, I have Ed Monk from Last Resort Firearms Training. How are you doing today, Ed?
Just fine, Val. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for coming in. And I wanted to let everyone know that we just, Ed and I just got back from the John Lott Forum at the Clinton Clinton School for Public Service, and that was a fantastic event. If you happen to catch it, you can call in and give us your thoughts today, 433-0092. And how do you think it went today, Ed?
I think it went very well, but I'm very familiar with Dr. Lott's studies, and I go to a lot of events that he's at, and I've read his books, but he just has a great way of very non-emotionally presenting the facts that aren't presented in most of the media.
Okay. We're going to have a change you for a second, Ed. I'm sorry. This mic is not working, and I apologize, but last week we had the same problem. We want to get through the show without people calling us and telling us the mic isn't working. So you're very familiar with Dr. Lott.
Yes.
And, we had him on the show last week, and it was a great interview as well. But today it was a little bit more extensive, and I got a copy of his book, a signed copy, which was good. How did you feel? To be honest with you, I thought more people would be... I thought there would be some pushback.
Yeah, I was bracing myself after his presentation for some
But there wasn't.
off-the-wall questions. No, there wasn't.
And everyone was it was civil. Everyone got their questions out, and if not, they got to talk to Dr. Lott afterwards. So it was a very exciting day for us. And then the luncheon went well. We had a luncheon where State Representative Douglas House presented Dr. Lott with the Traveler Award, which was fantastic. And then Secretary of State Mark Martin also had some words for Dr. Lott, even though he wasn't there. Christopher Powell got to present that with him. So let's talk about the business that you're in, Ed.
We own a gun training facility about 25 miles south of Little Rock. We have an indoor classroom and 3 outdoor shooting bays. We provide private lessons for people on defensive handgun use. We do the class required by the state to get your concealed carry license. We offer 3 advanced level classes beyond the one that's required by the state for fighting with a gun, defending your life with a gun. And then we offer right now 1 specialty class on responding to the active shooter. And then we also host a defensive shooting match the first Saturday of every month.
So let's talk a little bit about the responding to the active shooter, because I know that's been on a lot of people's lips these last couple of months since the Connecticut shootings. First of all, tell the listeners what active shooting is.
Well, it's used a few different ways. The way we use it is one of these people that goes into a public place and tries to shoot as many people as they can until they're stopped. That's what we call the active shooter. It's not just a fight between 2 or 3 people that turns to gunplay. It's not just a revenge where one person goes to shoot another person they have a vendetta against. It's a person that goes into a public place and just shoots randomly, try to get as many people as they can. And Dr. Lott uses the other term you're starting to hear, multi-victim public shooting.
Right.
But active shooter's a little quicker to say.
Multi-victim public shooting.
Yes.
It's a little bit of a tongue twister.
Yes, it is.
But it also gives you a little bit more definitive of what active shooter is. Yeah. So do you have people come from across the state to participate in this training? Who is your likely candidate?
Well, we have 2 different things we offer. One is just an educational presentation to understand what the threat is. We basically study what's happened over the last 20-something years. And in military and law enforcement, we call it pattern analysis. We look for those things that are common, those things that occur most of the time, so that it'll help us predict what's more likely to happen in the future. So we do that, and then we look at the trends, the commonalities that occur in almost all of them, and there are a lot of commonalities. And then
right.
Based off that, how can a person or an organization make a plan to react to it should they have some really bad luck and the active shooter picks their location to start shooting. So we have a presentation that's information only that we do free of charge. We'll travel around the state. We've done it at a lot of schools, colleges, churches, chambers of commerce, Lions Club, other venues. But then we also have a one-day class for people that choose to go armed and think that they want to be able to respond to an active shooter. That those are both police officers and civilians.
Right. What's the ratio of civilians that are interested in this sort?
Oh, it's mostly civilians.
Mostly civilians.
Mostly civilians,
Not
yes.
police officers.
No.
I guess they get that training as well. But okay, so you do the private lessons for this as well, correct?
Well, we'll do private lessons.
You come to the school.
I'm sorry.
Well, I guess it wouldn't
It's
be
a
private.
presentation. It's a private presentation,
school,
yes.
Right. But the private lessons are for concealed carry, I apologize, right?
Well, the private lessons, the concealed carry, to teach it the way the state police want it taught, it's between 5 and 6 hours. So we do those by classes.
Oh, okay.
With
I'm
groups.
sorry.
But the private lessons, most of our private lessons are for beginners. I'd say
Okay.
about 80% of our private lessons are for beginners, people that don't yet have a gun or they have one but they don't feel real comfortable in using it. But about 20% are ones that want to go beyond the basics. So we have a menu of skills that they can choose from and say, I want to learn this skill or I would like to get better at this skill.
What's the first skill that you recommend anyone take? Like, what skill what's the first thing you need to know about getting a gun?
Safety. The very first thing in a private lesson that's for a beginner, and that's about 80% of our private lessons, first thing we cover is safety. The 4 general rules of firearm safety, handling a handgun in a safe manner. We always cover that first, then ammunition, then the different types of guns, how they work, how to load them, how to unload them, how to shoot them, and then we shoot them.
So that's one of the things that I find the safety aspect. I think that's why a lot of people are afraid of guns because they don't understand them and they don't. I mean, they may respect the gun, but they don't understand how it works, and so they're afraid that they'll mishandle it maybe and misuse it. So.
Yeah, but the vast majority of beginners that take either a class or a lesson from us, after it's over, overwhelmingly they say, this was a lot more simple than I thought it would be.
Right. Well, in my head, you know.
And it is. The safety rules are really very simple. And shooting a gun at close range, which is what a self-defense shooting almost always is, it's really very simple. If you can line up 2 things and pull a lever, you can shoot a gun.
Right.
So
Okay.
you just have to learn the few particulars about how they work, and it's really not that complicated.
Okay. Well, you know that there's Jane English had presented a bill in the Arkansas Senate, and the bill would have cut the concealed carry license in half. But of course, that didn't pass this week. Can you tell me your thoughts on that?
Well, in the purest nature, we don't believe there should be a license at all. We
Right.
believe it's a right, and it's not a. There is a right in the Constitution to have a gun, but we believe it's a broader right of self-defense. The gun just happens to be the, by far, absolute best tool to defend your life with if you're attacked by a violent criminal. We don't think there should be a licensing at all. We think the Second Amendment is your license. But the fact that we have it, we think the fee ought to be the absolute minimum that it takes to run the licensing. They shouldn't be taking any more
Right.
money
And putting
from
it
the
somewhere
applicants
else.
for putting somewhere else. So if
Well-
you're going to have the program, it has to be funded, but it should be funded at the minimum level. And just like Dr. Lott said today, the lower you make that price to get a license, the more people can take advantage of it. And, you know, the middle income and more wealthy people, they can pay whatever the state wants to charge. But it's the lower income people that are most likely to be victims of a violent attack. So they should be the ones that have the greatest chance to get a license.
Well, and some of them will have guns, but they're not educated. And my whole point on keeping this as low as possible is that you will have more people out there educated in having a gun.
Yes.
I mean, as opposed to them having a gun and not being educated on it at all, but yet still carrying it. So, I mean, it's kind of silly that it didn't. I understand where they're coming from on the money, but at the same time, I also understand, but as you said, our Second Amendment is our license,
Yes.
and we're allowing you to charge us. So I think that they should tread lightly, but they don't.
Yeah.
But anyway.
And that money is prohibitive for some people. They just have to choose between buying this week's groceries and getting a license, and the groceries are going to win.
Yeah, and sometimes somebody will come steal your groceries because you don't have a license to have a gun. Okay, so what are your? So, you want to tell us some of your upcoming classes? Do you have any scheduled right now? Or?
Right now, we are so full of concealed carry. We haven't scheduled. We don't normally try to schedule our advanced classes in January, February because we just rolling the dice with the weather.
Right.
And predominantly, our advanced classes are mostly outside on the range doing range activity. So. We used to do about one concealed carry class a month, and since the political craziness has
Right.
gone on since December, we're now doing 4 and 5 jam-packed concealed carry classes a month now.
Job security, huh?
Yeah, so we have to pick and choose the other dates. Plus, we have other things we do. We have to pick and choose other dates. Coming up here in March and April, we haven't set them yet, but we're going to have a concealed carry 2, a concealed carry 3, which are our first 2 levels of advanced classes, and we're going to do an active shooter class.
And
probably in April.
where do people go to take your class and sign up?
We have our own facility at exit 27 off of Interstate 530, which is the gravel pit road exit 27 miles south of Little Rock. We're right off the interstate, 50 yards off the interstate.
Okay.
They can just go to our Facebook page, Last Resort Firearms Training, or they can call me, 870-273-1113, and schedule a class.
You want to give them that number one more time, Ed?
Sure, 870-273-1113, or they can email me at my name, edmonk, EDMONK, at AOL.com.
All right, folks. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back with Mr. Monk. I think that's. I'm just going to call you Ed.
I prefer that.
We'll be back with Ed to talk more about his concealed carry classes. I need to tell you about Central Arkansas's newest gun store and indoor range, Arkansas Armory. The emphasis at Arkansas Armory is personal protection, concealed carry, and tactical home defense. They have a 25-yard indoor range with excellent ventilation. If you're looking to take a concealed carry licensure course, or if you just want a convenient place to shoot, give Nathan House and the Arkansas Armory staff a call at 501-835-4867 or stop by at 7600 Landers Road in Sherwood. That's 501-835-GUNS.
Hi, I'm Jimmy Smith, and I'd like to talk to you about a screening. No, not a movie screening, but a screening test for colorectal cancer. It could save your life. Colorectal cancer is highly preventable, yet it is the second leading cancer killer of men and women in the U.S. But it doesn't have to be. Screening finds precancerous polyps so that they can be removed before they turn into cancer. So please, get screened for colorectal cancer. I did.
If you're 50 or older, get screened. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Attention all healthcare professionals. Is your practice accepting new patients? If so, listen to this opportunity. Cumulus Media and this radio station are publishing and distributing 35,000 free local medical guides in Central Arkansas this spring. This is a great opportunity for you to attract new patients. Make sure your practice is included in the medical guide. For all the details, call me, Market Manager Cindy Thompson, at 501-401-0223. That's 501-401-0223.
So I know there's some ladies out there listening today, and I want to tell you about Gold Standard Distributors. Gold Standard Distributors is the source for all your beauty needs. You can call Rodney today at 501-240-6729 to hear the current deals and specials. I have to tell you, after receiving my One Professional Legacy blow dryer from Gold Standard a few weeks ago, I had no idea it would be so amazing. I had the problem with static in my hair, and this blow dryer has taken all of that away and made it disappear. It's absolutely amazing. So give Rodney a call today at 501-240-6729 to find out their other great products. Tell them Val sent you.
Be sure to set your clock an hour ahead this Sunday at 2 a.m. A reminder from sleep-deprived KARN, News Radio 1029 FM.
You're listening to Central Arkansas's only radio show on crime, Crime Chronicle Live, with your host, Val Emmons.
And we're back in the studio. This is Val Emmons, your host of the Crime Chronicle. And I have Ed Monk here with me from Last Resort Firearms Training. And we've been talking about all of the different classes that he offers. Ed, I want to talk about the active shooter a little bit more, too.
Sure.
So you want to go over some of the classes that you offer on that again?
Well, we really only offer one, which is a free presentation.
All right, you said that. I'm sorry,
To
I
any
keep calling it
organization, and we'll travel to them to give that. All we need is a room and a wall to present on. We 2 school systems in Southeast Arkansas have invited us back for the second time, and we've got one coming up in North Little Rock in April, and we've got other organizations that are interested. And all we do there is we basically just go through the history of the active shooter and then look at the trends and then say, okay, now how can we plan to save lives?
Right.
Unfortunately, every time one of these active shooters happens, there's 2 reactions that most people witness, and that's emotional. And anytime innocent people get killed, especially kids,
Right.
it's natural to feel emotion. It's just generally not good to set policy based off emotion. And then there's also the political reaction, because people have certain policies that they want all the time, and they use the emotion and the craziness of these shootings to try to impose their politics. But if you study it and you just look at it plain and simple, it really comes down to something very simple, and that's math and time. And I'm a history major in it, and I can understand this math because it's pretty simple. The trends that we see are active shooters pick gun-free zones, and Dr. Lott, of course, talks about this.
Yes.
They pick places where they're the only ones with a gun because they don't want to get in a fight. They want to get in a slaughter. They want to be in a place where they're the only ones that can have a gun because they're breaking the law. They're in a place where the law prohibits any other good people from having a gun and being able to fight back. It's mandatory victim zone is what it is. So that's the places that they go. Their motivation is generally fame. They want high score. If they go out and murder 1 or 2 people, they'll be in the news 1 or 2 nights. If they murder 30 people, they'll be in the news for a month, and everybody in the world will know their picture and know their name, and if they've written a manifesto, they'll know that. And every year of the anniversary of their shooting, it'll be brought up again, so they'll basically live forever. The ugly math of the active shooters, if you go back and look at them, is one person's going to get shot every 10 seconds. Once it starts, one person's going to get shot every 10 seconds.
Wow.
That's 6 every minute. And that's the way the math comes out, but it's actually worse than that, because in the first 1 or 2 minutes, someone's getting shot every 3 or 4 seconds. And then, of course, as people run away and hide and lock themselves in places, then they can't be shot as relative. But the math, if you just want to look at the statistics, one person's shot every 10 seconds. So it's real simple. If you want to save lives, if you want to limit the number of victims, stopping the active shooter as soon as possible will limit the number of people that they can shoot. Most of them plan on dying. Most of them plan on killing themselves, and in fact, most of them do kill themselves.
Right, as we've seen.
But more importantly, most of them kill themselves before they get into a fight. They want to start their attack on their terms, continue the attack on their terms, and end the attack on their terms. So if you go through and you look at many of the cases, they don't even get into a gunfight with the armed police once they show up. They shoot themselves before they even see the police. Once they know the police are there, they kill themselves. So the more quickly we can counter them, confront them, respond to them with armed resistance, the quicker it'll end in almost every case. You basically have 3 choices. As an individual or in a plan for an organization, you have 3 choices of what to do once an active shooter starts, and that's to fight, flee, or freeze, which hide, stay put. If you're capable, fighting's always the best option, because if you stop him from killing other people, and the math says 6 people are going to get shot every minute that we don't stop him. So having somebody, the best solution to stop an active shooter is a good armed trained person on site when it starts. If you have to wait 5 minutes for a good armed trained person to show up, the math says 30 people are going to get shot.
Right.
So waiting 3, 5, 10 minutes, if your plan is to wait 5 minutes, your plan is for 30 people to get shot. It's not the way I want it, it's just the way it is. So having someone there on site, present, at the place when they start will end their fantasy, end their shooting a lot quicker. If you cannot fight, then fleeing is the best option. If you can't kill evil, then get away from evil.
Right.
You're a harder target until you get out of sight, and once you're out of sight, of course, they can't shoot you.
Wow, that's 30 people. And we don't think about that either.
Nope.
1 person every 10 minutes until the police, or every 10 seconds, I apologize,
Yes.
until the police respond and make contact on
And again, it's worse than that, because if
that's what happened
attack
at
lasts 5
Columbine.
minutes,
Right.
Yeah, that lasted 45 minutes.
Right. It gives me chills just thinking about it, because
and those people that say, "Hey, that's what the police are for. Call and let them come."
No, that's not what I'm sorry. And that's the thing I love, that you are an ex-police officer.
Well, I'm a current police officer.
Oh, you're current
I'm an
police
ex-deputy
officer. I'm
sheriff.
sorry, I
I'm a
must have read
retired
that.
military
I'm
officer. I'm a
sorry.
former deputy
I'm
sheriff,
sorry.
and I'm currently a police officer.
police
and I
officer.
taught school for 4 years. So I come at this from a lot of different angles. I've been in a classroom where I was told, when a nutcase crazy person with a gun came into school to start killing as many people as he could, I was supposed to huddle my students in the corner of a room and wait as the shots got louder and the screams got louder until he got down to my room. And it was a waiting game on who showed up first, the active shooter or the police that eventually get called. That's crazy.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to misquote your
No, that's
bio.
fine.
I'm sorry. So, but I find that often the case when I talk to police officers or ex-police officers, that the first thing they'll tell you is that you need to defend yourself. And they don't, and everyone's like, why are police officers so against us having guns. And I'm like, from what I've heard, they're not. They actually, if you're well trained and you take the courses, they want you to be able to, because they can't always get there right away.
Yeah, criminals want to succeed at what they're doing. You know, you host a radio show, you want to be successful at that. The criminals that hurt us want to be successful at doing what they do. So they very rarely start their attacks right in front of a police officer.
Right.
They go out of their way to start their attacks away from police officers. So generally the police officers show up after the attack's taken place. There's usually, when the attack starts, there's the victim and the criminal. Those are the only two people there.
Well, so I want to read a little bit of your bio, Ed, because I think it's a fantastic. Okay, so folks, if you don't know Ed is the co-owner, of course, and instructor at Last Resort Firearms Training just north of Whitehall. And he provides training on the defensive use of handguns and other firearms, private lessons. The class is required to gain a concealed handgun carry license, advanced level classes, and a class on countering the active shooter, which we just talked about. But he's also a part-time Whitehall police officer, which I missed that, and I apologize. And so in 2007, Ed retired from the Army as a lieutenant colonel and a battalion commander after 24 years of active duty in the U.S., Europe, and Iraq. I think that's fantastic, and thank you for your service in that, Ed. Immediately after his Army retirement, Ed taught U.S. government and U.S. history at the high school level for 4 years and was a deputy sheriff in Kentucky. He has been a professional firearms instructor in Ohio, Kentucky, and now in Arkansas. Ed's formal education includes a BS in U.S. history from the U.S. Military Academy, West Point, which I think is just awesome, and an MS in education from Kansas State University, and is the graduate of the U.S. Army Command and General Staff College. So he is well prepared to train you in any of these classes and presentations that we are going over with you today. So we're West Point. Wow, that's a pretty awesome school. You want to tell? I want to hear about a story. Give us a story from West Point.
West Point's like prison, but with better uniforms.
Prison with better uniforms.
Prison with better uniforms, yeah.
So was that your choice to go there, or was it a family and your dad want you to go or something like that?
Well, I mean, I had encouragement, but my father had served in World War II, you know, just for the duration of the war. There isn't any military tradition in my family. But what happened was I went to school in Whitehall, and my 10th grade year, Whitehall got an ROTC program, junior ROTC, the kind that's in the high schools, and got me interested in the retired lieutenant colonel who ran that program. Was just one of the greatest guys I've ever met, Lieutenant Colonel W.J. Lee. And I didn't know really much about the Army at all, but I thought if that's what an Army officer is, I want to be one of those.
Right, that's awesome.
And so then, you know, the avenues to do that are ROTC, OCS, or West Point, and I learned about how to try to apply for West Point, and I did, and they took me seriously, and I got to go.
So this has always been your thing, the being in the military, the police officer, the training. You've always wanted to do this since high school.
Well, once I found out about ROTC, and that got me, I really didn't have any interest in the military at all, but I didn't know anything about it. So you really can't want to do something you know nothing about. And the junior ROTC got me curious enough to look into it, and then I decided that's what I wanted to do.
I think I find with a lot of kids these days, they don't really know what they want to do because they don't know enough about a program to do so, which there's a lot of good programs out there, and ROTC is one of them. So I guess we will take a quick break, and we'll come back and talk with Ed some more. So I know you've heard Dave Ellswick talk about the HCG diet on his show. Well, I too am a client. And since I started this diet, the first week I lost 7 pounds. If you want to know more about the HCG diet, give New Creations Weight Loss Clinic a call at 501-791-6795 to set up your appointment with Dr. Schroeder.
Now's the time.
Now's the time to make a difference.
Now's the time to take a stand.
To get involved.
To make a change.
Now's the time to raise a hammer and drive a nail.
To build a wall.
And open a door to a new life.
Now's the time to help Habitat for Humanity build hope and change lives with a family in your community or around the world.
Now's the time.
Now, more than ever, help build it.
Visit Habitat.org.
Local restaurants, shops, salons, and more with savings of 50 to 90% every time. Live more, spend less. Download the mobile app now.
Now that's a real sweet deal.
SweetJack.com.
When you want to know what the best product is, you ask an expert. So if you want to know why the Exergen Temporal Scanner Thermometer is the best for you and your family, just ask doctors and nurses why they use it at work and at home, and they'll tell you. The Exergen Temporal Scanner Thermometer gives a fast, accurate reading with just a gentle forehead scan and is backed by more than 40 published medical studies. Those all add up to peace of mind that your family is using the best and a great value for the money. Get yours today at Target and other fine retailers.
Are you in the market for tactical gear or firearms? Stop by Simply Tactical, located at 1900 Military Road in Benton. Simply Tactical is locally owned and operated and your source for tactical gear, firearms, and accessories. So give Barry, Jacob, or Judy a call at 501-778-8100. Again, that's 501-778-8100.
Be sure to set your clock an hour ahead this Sunday at 2 a.m. A reminder from Sleep Deprived KARN, News Radio 1029 FM.
Don't touch that dial. You're listening to Crime Chronicle Live with your host, Val Emmons.
Okay, we're back with Ed Monk from Last Resort Firearms Training. And now now that you have heard Ed's bio and resume, and you know that he's well prepared to train you in any of these different areas, I want to, Ed, can you walk us through the steps to get a concealed carry license? Because a lot of people really don't know, and they think it's a hard process to go through.
It's a very simple process. You have to be 21 years old. On the day you apply, you can actually take your training up to 6 months before, because the training that you must take is good for 6 months. So you could take the training when, 4 or 5 months before your 21st birthday. You just can't sign and mail the application until your 21st birthday. So you have to be 21. You have to be a resident of Arkansas for 90 continuous days. So again, if you just moved into Arkansas, you could take the training and then just wait until the 90th day that you were a resident before you signed it and mailed it in.
So even if you have a concealed carry from another state?
Well, Arkansas recognizes 38 other state licenses.
Okay.
If someone from another state that Arkansas recognizes comes here, Arkansas State Police has a program where you can basically trade that state's license in and get an Arkansas license.
Okay. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to catch you off guard there.
No, that's fine. If you meet those basic requirements, then you just have to go to an instructor that's certified by the state police to teach the state police's class. And again, that's somewhere between 5 and 6 hours minimum if it's done correctly. Once you've taken that class and the instructor has signed the page of your application that he is supposed to sign or she is supposed to sign, telling the state police that you have attended the required training, you mail your filled out application along with fingerprint cards to the state police. And they're going to use that application and the information you put on it and then your fingerprints to conduct a background check. And if you pass the background check and you've successfully completed the training and you meet the other requirements, the age and the residency, then they have to give you a license. Some states are called discretionary. Like I lived in California twice. It's a discretionary state. They have a concealed carry license, and it's issued by the sheriff, but the sheriff can just pick and choose who he gives it to and who he doesn't give it to.
Really?
And does not have to give a reason, and it's totally discretionary. Most states, 40 of the 50, including Arkansas, are called shall issue states, which means the law says these are the requirements to get the license. If you meet these requirements, they must issue you the license, so it's not discretionary.
Okay, well that makes a lot of sense because you're not just picking who you want to
Exactly. It's
have
not
a
because
grudge against
you
Billy
worked on my
Bob and-
campaign, so I'll give you a license.
and
but-
not the other guy's
Exactly.
campaign.
And then it's good for 5 years, and right now it's good in 38 other states. 38 other states will recognize your license, and then there's another state that doesn't require any license at all, so you can just carry there even though they don't recognize the license.
And during the break, you were telling me that there were 4 states that don't require anything? Because I thought that was interesting. I know it's not about Arkansas, but there's 4 states that don't require
4
any kind
states,
of license.
you can if you can own the handgun, you can carry the handgun. You don't require a license in those 4 states. Now, 3 of those states will issue a license. They have a program. If you go through the training and apply, they will issue you a license. And what that does is it allows you to carry in other states.
Okay.
So it's Arizona. You don't have to have a license to carry a gun in Arizona. As long as you're legal to own the gun, you can legally carry it.
But if you
want
wanna
to come here to
somewhere
Arkansas and visit,
right.
you can't carry here in Arkansas as an Arizona resident unless you have a license for Arkansas to recognize.
Okay, well that makes sense. Okay, so do you have the applications on hand, or where can they pick up application at for that?
They can download them offline. They can actually fill out their application and pay online. Or in our classes, we always have the applications there. And part of the class is we go line by line over the application and let anybody ask any questions if they're not sure of what the question means.
And is there a background check for the concealed carry, or is
Yes.
that just to purchase the gun?
Well, both.
Both? Okay.
But in Arkansas, if once you get your license to carry a concealed handgun, if you go to a federally firearms licensed dealer, which a gun store, any store pawn shop that deals in guns will have to have a federal firearms license. If you go there, you have to fill out a form, but if you have an Arkansas concealed handgun license, the store does not have to make the phone call and conduct a background check on you, because that license is proof you've gone through a more stringent background check than what the phone call would do. If you go into a federal firearms licensed dealer, Walmart or Academy Sports or any place, and try to buy a gun and you don't have the concealed carry license, they have to call a 1-800 number to a FBI center in West Virginia and read off your information. If you have your license, they don't have to do that. They just write down your license information. But yeah, you have to go through a background check, and it's more stringent because there's some things, if it's in your background, that might prevent you from getting a carry license, but would not prevent you from simply buying and owning the gun.
Right, okay. Well, that makes sense. Okay, well, let's see. So there were some things that I wanted to go over today, too, with listeners. I want to switch gears here for a minute because I got an alert from the North Little Rock Police Department, and apparently currently Central Arkansas has experienced a phishing scam in which the suspects are contacting victims with robocalls and text messages. So the suspects are advising victims their debt or credit cards have been canceled by mistake or some version of this scam. The area banks are aware of the scam and are attempting to notify customers. So please be aware this is a dialing scam going on in this market with several financial institutions where an automated telephone service is calling people at random with the following message. Okay, so they say your debit card has been deactivated. Reactivate, press 1. And so please remember that financial institutions will never call customers and ask for debit card information. If you receive a call from a customer, please let them know they should not give out their debit card number or any financial information. This automated call is originated out of Florida. So if you have any more questions on that phishing scam, I just want to let everyone know because there's so many people out there that have been taken by these scams. There's another scam that they just released last week that they're talking about. They'll call someone up and they'll say, your grandson is in jail, such and such place, and then they'll say, we need you to send this much money. And they go online, they go on your Facebook page, and they find out who your relatives are or whatnot. And then if your grandma happens to be online or something, they'll say, this is, Bobby, Grandma, please send me some money. I got a free trip and I'm in jail. And then she wires the money, thousands of dollars out. And turns out Bobby is down the street at home where he's supposed to be and not in, Nicaragua or somewhere like that.
There's a class of people out there that's what they spend most of their time doing is trying to figure out how to make you a victim.
Yeah, and how to get your money. Yeah, a victim, right, I know. So there's just a lot of different things coming out from all the police departments. And also, North Little Rock wants to let everyone know that they are joining with the state, and there's a campaign for targeting underage drinking and driving, which you heard us had John Collins on a couple of weeks ago, a great DUI attorney. But not only that, but an advocate on not drinking and driving. But we feel very strongly that you should get a designated driver. And since this is Saturday, we know that you'll all be going out tonight. Not all, but most people will be going out tonight or, enjoying their spirits and wine. We want you to be safe about doing so. And I'm sure Ed does too, because he doesn't want to have to get the call that some of you might have been arrested or might need to be arrested.
Enjoy your freedoms, but be responsible.
That's right. And so underage drinking is becoming a problem. So they're cracking down on that too. So Arkansas sets zero tolerance for teens and young adults who are under the influence. And Benton Police Department also is alerting young drivers for the zero tolerance for underage drinking. So if you are a business and maybe you're a part of a nonprofit and you want to reach tens of thousands of loyal and informed consumers, well, advertising on this radio show is more effective and affordable than you could ever have imagined. You can call me at 870-897-7716 or email me, CC Val Emmons crime-chronicle@gmail.com to learn how you can have your business or organization's message heard on Crime Chronicle Live. So my number again is 870-897-7716. Now, anybody out there, if you have some information on what's going on in your neighborhood, or if you have witnessed a crime or you see some stuff going on, you can also text me. I'm going to go ahead and let everyone do that. Probably shouldn't have done that, but I don't want any prank calls, people. If you don't like me, that's fine. You can text me. Don't call. No. So, Ed, you have been doing this now for how many years, the training?
Well, I've been doing professional training for probably, 8 years as a professional instructor. I was an instructor at an indoor range in Louisville, Kentucky. For several years, I lived up there. I was an instructor at a place called Tactical Defense Institute in Southern Ohio for about 3 years. Before I moved back down here to where I'm from, I grew up in Whitehall, and my brother actually built our facility while I was still in the military.
I was going to ask what got you into just doing, how did this evolve?
Well, it evolved for me. I grew up shooting guns, started when I was 5, squirrel hunting, shooting rifles, ROTC. In high school, we had a rifle team. I was on the rifle.
I was going to ask you about that because John Lott mentioned something about that today, about how it used to be that way.
We had a rifle team. I was on the rifle team at West Point. Of course, the military teaches you to shoot, but you said you read my resume and you said, well, surely you're high, you're well prepared to talk about this stuff. But I think there's a big myth out there of people that think if you've got military experience and law enforcement experience, you're somehow an expert on guns, and that's really not the case. You've had some training, but you're not an expert. 95% plus of my training in how to use a gun to fight, not just to shoot it, but how to defend your life with it, has come as a civilian, that I went out and paid my own money and went to these professional training academies. But I lucked into a group in Kentucky when I was there right around 2000, the third time I went to Kentucky in the military. I found this group of mostly civilians that were just doing this defensive shooting. I'd shot guns my whole life, but I'd never been introduced to the skills you need how to fight with a gun.
Right.
So that got me curious, interested, and looking for other ways, and then I would just take advantage of different places. There's the biggest gun training academy in the country is out in Nevada, and the second time I got stationed in California, I was about a 3-hour drive from that, so I went to that several times. And then TDI in Ohio, I went to that several times, and then got asked to be an instructor there. And then my brother and I both have just sought it out. We use our own time and our own money. Even though now we're instructors, we own our own facility, we always think there's more to learn, skills that can be honed, and we're willing to use things that we learn from other instructors. Not only the skills, but how to teach. There's instructional techniques that we'll experience other people to do. So that's kind of how we've done it.
Right, because I guess not one thing works for every person.
Exactly. Or just another way to put it. I was a high school teacher for 4 years, and I used to tell my last period of the day, you get the refined product. I come in the first period, I've got about an 80% solution, but because of the questions that students ask in all the other periods, it makes me come up with different ways of teaching it. The last period of the day gets my final product, gets the best product.
Right, okay. So I know there's probably not a lot of crime going on in Whitehall, but around here there is, and I want to talk about I want to talk a little bit about the paper this week, because we have a fantastic paper, the Crime Chronicle, out this week, and you can pick one up at convenience stores. And we have a story on what happened last Thursday, not this past Thursday, but the Thursday before last at the mall with the shooting at Park Plaza, and they also have a no gun on campus policy, which I'm not sure if that was the reason behind this, but they say that he worked there before. Both of these guys actually worked there. Deontay Edison, who is the one who shot Christian Hayes, and the young lady who was at the hospital, but Bryant actually worked there, and he was fired a few weeks prior for stealing. So I'm not sure if that whole equation fits into the reason, but if someone would have had a gun, they might have been able to shoot back, which makes a lot of sense. But so pick up the paper today, and you can also find us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/Crime Chronicle. And then you have a Facebook page as well, Ed?
Yeah, if they just search for Last Resort Firearms Training, they'll find our Facebook page.
Okay. Are there any days that you don't do trainings on?
Well, we predominantly only do training on the weekends, because this is just a part-time thing for us. My brother's a full-time police officer. I'm a part-time police officer.
You guys look exactly alike, by the way.
Except
for you look younger.
Yes,
Thank
you.
Look younger.
Yeah, you practice that really well.
You'll get a text.
So predominantly on the weekends.
Okay. What has your busiest, most packed day been over the since the Newton, Connecticut? How many people have you
Well, we pretty much max out comfortably at 18 in our classroom. So we pack them in at 18 almost every class now. Occasionally somebody won't show up, so there'll be an empty seat.
Right.
But our concealed carry classes since January have been 18, 18, 18, 18.
And how many classes have you done since then?
Like I said, we used to do prior to December one a month, third Saturday of every month. But since then, the demand's been so high, we just keep adding them. So we're up to 4 and 5 a month now.
Wow.
So people are asking us to schedule an advanced class, and we will, but now we just have fewer weekend days to choose from to schedule them.
And so do you see, I know because this is a question on the gun control, the people that advocate for gun control. So when you train someone for their concealed carry license, what's the likelihood that they'll come back after they get their license for that advanced training?
Very small.
Very small?
Very few people will go beyond the minimum required because they don't want to spend the time or the money. They just want what's necessary to have the gun in case they need it. They don't really want to get any more professional training than that. But for that small amount that does come back for the first level of advance, there's a high rate of people then coming back for level 3, level 4, and the active shooter class. And also we have first Saturday of every month we host a defensive shooting competition, and that's really the best sustaining training you can get because you're put in semi-realistic scenarios and you're forced into a gunfight against cardboard targets that don't shoot back. But you're forced into it, and there's a score kept, and there's a clock ticking, so that's a little bit of stress, and it's always good to train in defensive shooting under a little bit of stress because you'll be under some huge stress should you ever have to use it.
Yeah, I mean, because that's a lot of thing that people think that you'll freeze up because when you're out there shooting, like you said, cardboard targets, you have a goal and a mission and a goal, and that is to shoot the cardboard target.
Exactly.
You don't have somebody springing up on you out of nowhere. I was thinking that today, to be honest with you. I was like, oh, some crazy gun control advocate doesn't come in and just, but it was civil, of course. But, it's always in the back of your head when you're at events like that, or maybe not. And what would you do if somebody did come in shooting? So you don't know unless it's happened to you.
Well, through training, and that's through training, repetitive training, you will build muscle memory.
Explain that.
You hardwire your nerves and your brain that tells your body what to do. And it's a reason, that an NBA basketball player in the last few seconds of a game, under uncommon, pressure and guarding, can make a jump shot because he's done it so many times before. He doesn't have to tell every muscle, every finger, every muscle in his arm what to do to make that jump shot. He's done it so many times, he just instantly says, I need to do a jump shot, and his body does it without him thinking about it. And to improve your chances of being able to use your gun, and that's another big difference between just shooting a gun and being able to fight with it, is to have your body go on autopilot once you make the decision that unfortunately deadly force is authorized and that you need to do it.
So it could behoove you to take the extra advanced classes, not just know how to shoot a gun and to clean it and do all those things, but to actually learn how to fight with it if had to.
If your purpose to have the gun is to have it for defense, then you need to know how to fight with it.
Right. Wow, I can see your point there, and I'm definitely going to work to get my concealed carry here in the next couple of months. So y'all will be hearing more about that. And but we're going to take a quick break, and we will be right back. I need to tell you about Central Arkansas's newest gun store and indoor range, Arkansas Armory. The emphasis at Arkansas Armory is personal protection, concealed carry, and tactical home defense. They have a 25-yard indoor range with excellent ventilation. If you're looking to take a concealed carry licensure course, or if you just want a convenient place to shoot, give Nathan House and the Arkansas Armory staff a call at 501-835-4867 or stop by at 7600 Landers Road in Sherwood. That's 501-835-GUNS.
And they're off.
Raise a toast to excitement at Oaklawn.
Storm and KJ breaks out swiftly. Champagne for 2 is flashing speed.
Celebrate the season with some of America's top racing action right here in Hot Springs. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Champagne for 2 on the outside puts the head in front.
Pop a cork every night and day, all year long with your favorite games at Oaklawn. Wheel of Fortune, penny games, blackjack, poker, and more. Join the Winner's Circle Players Club for cash back, coupons, and amazing food discounts. rounds.
Champagne for 2 opens up now to lead by 3.
Gaming opens 10 a.m. Racing opens 11 a.m.
Future prizes in second. Starter on the outside.
Arkansas's favorite place to play. Oaklawn Racing and Gaming.
And Champagne for 2 in a very sharp performance this afternoon.
Get your $10 free play coupon at oaklawn.com.
Champagne for 2 strolls in.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700.
Now's the time to make a difference.
Now's the time to take a stand,
To get involved.
to make a change,
Now's the time to raise a hammer and drive a nail.
to build a wall.
And open a door to a new life.
Now's the time to help Habitat for Humanity build hope and change lives with a family in your community or around the world.
Now's the time.
Now, more than ever, help build it.
Visit Habitat.org.
So I know you've heard Dave Ellswick talk about the HCG diet on his show. Well, I too am a client. And since I started this diet, the first week I lost 7 pounds. If you want to know more about the HCG diet, give New Creations Weight Loss Clinic a call at 501-791-6795 to set up your appointment with Dr. Schroeder.
Be sure to set your clock an hour ahead this Sunday at 2 a.m. A reminder from sleep-deprived KARN, News Radio 1029 FM.
You're listening to Crime Chronicle with Val Emmons. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/Crime Chronicle or follow Crime Chronicle on Twitter.
All right, we are back in the studio today with Ed Monk from Last Resort Firearms Training. Ed, can you tell me, I have a question because a lot of people ask this, do you need to own a gun to come and do training with you at your facility?
No. In fact, a large portion of those for private lessons they've made a decision they think or they know they want to get a gun, but they just don't feel they know enough about it to go spend the $300 to $600 it's going to take to get a defensive gun. And before they go spend that money, they want a little more knowledge to make them a better consumer. In our concealed carry class, I'd say about half the people that come take it, they've made the decision they're going to get the license and they're eventually going to carry a gun once they get their license approved. But they don't know enough yet. And they don't want to go just buy a gun to take the class. So all instructors don't do this, but we will loan them a gun to shoot in the class after we've gone through the required training on how the safety and the ammunition and how they work and how to shoot them.
Wow, that's interesting. So they can just come, call you up, say, I want to take a class.
Exactly.
And you have guns and ammo there so that they can...
Yes.
Okay,
in a concealed carry class, we'll just let them shoot a 22 semi-auto.
Do you need to rent it or no?
Nope. It comes. Okay. We'll loan them the gun and the ammo as part of the fee. In a private lesson, we'll probably let them shoot a variety of guns. So as they go shopping in the future, they've test driven them. It's one thing to sit in the car. It's another thing to have driven the car. So shooting the gun makes a big difference. There's a lot of guns out there that you hold in your hand and you think, oh, I like that, until you go to shoot it.
Well, since I'm a woman and I know there are women out there listening, what can you recommend for a woman's first gun?
Well, we really don't like to do that. We don't like to recommend based off gender.
Okay.
You know, it's not, because a great thing about a gun is a woman that's trained, a 120-pound woman that's trained, has no disadvantage or advantage against a guy, a 300-pound man that's trained. The gun is the great equalizer. A man doesn't have a great advantage over a woman on how to shoot. Rugby, they do. Powerlifting, they do. Shooting a gun, they don't. The first Y in the road, as we call it, the first big decision, the two big types of handguns are revolvers and semi-automatics. Revolvers are very simple and they're very reliable. I've
heard that. I've heard that the revolver is, I've heard people say this, that the revolver is more going to not jam.
Not malfunction, because ammunition
sorry.
does not move inside of a revolver.
Right.
And that's what causes almost always a malfunction in a semi-auto. They're very simple, they're very reliable. Their downfalls are they hold far less ammo than a semi-auto, and they're harder to fight with. They're not harder to shoot, but they're harder to fight with. Semi-automatics are a little more complicated, but not a lot. And you get more ammo, and they're easier to fight with. So if someone came to me and they said, Ed, I want to get a gun, I want to learn how to use it, but I'm going to throw it in the glove box, I'm going to throw it in the nightstand, and I'm never going to practice with it, then we'd probably nudge them toward a revolver, whether they were a male or a female. But if they're willing to get a little more training and do some periodic training so that they're competent with it, and the level of that's different for different people, then the semi-automatic brings a lot of advantages when you're going to fight with it. And then most people know revolver semi-automatic, but a lot of people don't realize there's 3 different actions. There's single action, double action, and double action only. And we go over that in the class.
Right.
And they have advantages and disadvantages for fighting with that type of gun under stress. And we prefer the double action only because it's the most simple. The theory is when you're under that much stress with that little time to react and everything on the line, including your life, the fewer muscle movements you have to do and the fewer things your brain has to remember to do, probably the better off you'll be.
Well, I was thinking about getting a gun with the infrared.
Laser?
A laser, do you recommend that? Because I when you're saying the little time you have left, I would rather be very accurate than miss a couple of times.
Well, we don't really push lasers that much. We think it's a myth. People say, well, I'm going to get a laser so I can't miss. The laser is just a different way to sight the gun. We don't miss because we can't sight the gun. We miss because we sight the gun, and then in our trigger press, we pull the gun off. So it doesn't matter whether I'm sighting it by looking through iron sights or I'm sighting it with a red dot. If in my trigger pull, I pull the gun back off, it doesn't matter. Self-defense shootings, most of them, the vast majority of them, are done at arm distance, double arm distance, very close. So really, the ability to accurately hit the target is not that big of a deal.
Right.
And it's another thing that can fail. And if the laser is, most of them are hung on the front end of the gun, it drastically changes your holster options if you're into carrying the gun.
Right.
If it's a home defense gun, having a light on it, we think is better than having a laser on it.
Okay. Well, and also, so once you get your concealed carry, people think, oh, well, I can just take it anywhere. What are the places where you cannot carry?
The gun-free zones. Now, these are places that the state law says even though you have a license to carry a concealed handgun in Arkansas, you can't carry in certain places. Churches or other places of worship. Now, that was just amended. It's still a prohibited place. It was just amended to say, however, a church can decide who can and cannot carry inside that church. So if the church has a policy that lets you carry in there, you're not carrying with your license. You're carrying because the church has said you can carry in there. Any law enforcement office, sheriff's office, state police office, city police office, you can't carry in any police office, any jail or prison or any place of confinement, any property of the Arkansas Transportation Department, with the exception of way stations and rest stops. You can carry, and that's a good thing because those can be dangerous.
Yeah.
Any state office, like a revenue office, you can't carry in there.
In case you get mad, I guess.
Yeah, you can't carry in a bar, but you can carry in a restaurant that serves alcohol. So if they have a kitchen and they're serving meals and they make most of their profit off of food, they just also happen to serve alcohol, like an Applebee's. You can carry legally in there, but you can't carry in the honky-tonk that just has pretzels on the bar. You can't carry any place the federal law prevents you from carrying, like a post office, like a military base, like a federal courthouse. One exception there is you can carry in a national park, as long as that national park is in a state that allows you to carry.
So you have to be very up on these laws or you could get yourself in trouble.
And that's covered in the class, and they get a copy of the law. We're required to give them a copy of the law, and we cover it in the class.
Well, that's what Dr. Lott was saying today, that some of the laws people may not know. And then, like, if you carry it on campus and you're prohibited from carrying it, that goes on your record, and you could doom you if you ever want to go apply for another school or a job at a school.
Exactly.
So you have to be up to date on where you can and can't carry.
You can't carry in a polling place. So if it's a VFW hut that you can carry every other day of the year, if they're voting in that place on that day, you can't carry. You can't carry in a courthouse. You can't carry in any government meeting. And you can't carry in any school, building, or event. The property's okay, but the law specifically says building or event. And lastly, any business, any public business can post a sign that says the carrying of handguns is prohibited here.
And so all of these, if open carry were to ever come about, which it's in the committee right now, I believe, but if it were to ever come about, these same laws would apply, correct?
I don't know what that law says.
Well, I mean, if it would just, I think that they did include all of these laws. I did read the law, and it did say that all these things would apply to that. I just wanted to make that clear to everybody. It's not just going to be, it's going to be the same. It'll be the same places you can't carry, even when you're concealed carry.
Correct.
So, if you want to give everyone your number again, because we are about out of time, so they can get a hold of you and get some training.
Sure. Feel free to call and just leave on my voicemail if I can't answer, 870-273-1113, or you can email me at edmonk, EDMONK, @AOL.com.
or look him up on Facebook.
And send us a message there. Ask us a question there.
And we are also, you can find Crime Chronicle on Facebook, www.facebook.com/Crime Chronicle. And then you can also pick up the paper at any gas station convenience store. Like I said, this week's issue is a fantastic issue, so you need to go get it and read it up. There's a good op-ed in there as well. And then you never know who you're going to find in a mugshot, I've noticed. I have come across some people that I know since I've been doing this, and I was just like, what? But it's entertaining for us, maybe not so much for them, but we've had people email us, too, and say, hey, can I get a copy of that? My wife was in there, and I'll never let her live it down. You know, it's kind of... Okay, well, until next week, folks, stay safe, and we'll see you next week.
From ABC News, I'm Chuck Sievertson saying he thinks U.S. and Afghan leaders can ease tensions. Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel, who's in the capital, Kabul. Afghan leaders have ordered Special Operations Forces out of Wardak province after allegations that Afghans working with them abused and tortured other Afghans.
I feel confident that we'll be able to work this out.
2 suicide bombings killed at least 19 Afghans, including 8 children. One bombing outside the Defense Ministry, where Hagel was not at the time. ABC's Mohammed Leela.
The attack sent ambulances rushing to the scene and nearby military bases into lockdown. I saw dead bodies and wounded people lying everywhere, this man says. A suicide bomber on a bicycle struck right at the gate of the Afghan Ministry of Defense, one of the most heavily guarded buildings in the country.
ABC's Mohammed Leela in Islamabad, Pakistan. Now free, UN peacekeepers seized by Syrian rebels Wednesday, says ABC's Linda Albin at our foreign desk in London.
The UN envoy to Damascus has confirmed that all 21 UN peacekeepers have been freed and made it safely into Jordan. The 21, all from the Philippines, were held captive by Syrian rebels for 4 days. They'd initially said they'd free the peacekeepers, but only if Syrian regime forces withdrew from the area.